Hello and welcome to you all. Welcome to the webcast of AI and IQBot by Automation Anywhere and Maeglerkonsulenterne. Peter and Michael will tell you all about AI and IQBot, so you can learn how this can make a difference in your organization. So if you have any questions during the webcast, please put them in the question box, or if you have any feedback for us. Don't be afraid to put them in the question box so we can answer your questions during the presentation or after the presentation, however you prefer. After this webinar, the presentations will be sent to you by email. And just let us know if you have any more questions. So let's start with this webinar today. And Michael, over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to have a quick look into artificial intelligence. We have Maeglerkonsulenterne been working with Automation Anywhere for some time, and we really believe it's a great platform. Hence, we have these webinars with Automation Anywhere. Today we are talking about artificial intelligence and basically a lot about how machines, or if they can think like humans, or how they actually do that. To make this a little bit interesting, we have a small challenge that I will present to you. See how many of you actually can solve that very easily, and then we'll talk a little bit about how machines look at this problem. Basically, to give you an idea how and when to use artificial intelligence, when is it really easy and when is it a little bit more complicated. The challenge is maybe known to many of you, maybe it's not. It's not a new challenge. It's a modulated checkerboard problem where you remove two of the squares, and then you're supposed to fill it up with 2x1 dominoes. The fact of the matter is it can't be done. The really good question is how many of you easily can see the solution as it is right now. The point of this is that whether or not you can see it right now, a little bit irrelevant, because it's very easy to demonstrate how it actually works. If you look at it now, you might be able to see very easily that if you were supposed to fill this square with dominoes, then it's not possible because you move two of the white spaces, and if you want to fill it up with dominoes, you need to remove black and white. Now, this is interesting because from a human perspective, we are able to learn from digital image representation, where computers have a harder time doing that. They learn differently. So this can be, in machine learning, a machine can actually learn this, but it's actually very complicated. But from a human perspective, it's very easy. So this comes back to the interesting question is, where do you use artificial intelligence, and where is it more complicated? And is it relevant when it still can be achieved, or is it not? But it's a matter of being aware of these things and using things where it makes sense for everyone. And from if you look at it differently, you can say that humans are very good at many things, and when it comes to visual data representation, we're very much ahead. If you look at it in more detail, then you said at this point stage, machines can easily recognize pictures, music, lots of examples where you have services where you can use an app and it can guess what song it is and things like that. In big organizations like yours, it's most likely more interesting when you're talking about big data, bunch of data, which is not structured and actually recognizing patterns. Those data. This is an area where machines are really, really good, versus can be a little bit hard on humans. And then it comes using simple things where us as humans are, you can say we have more challenges. Simple stuff like mathematical stuff, the square root of 17. Most people won't be able to specify what it is, at least not after a few digits, whereas a machine, really, really small one, can easily calculate that. So when you utilize the strengths of these areas, then it becomes super interesting. And of course, when you look at things like energy efficiency and so on, then the humans, we are very efficient, and our brains are extremely good. You can take a good example is we all know Siri. If you use Siri needs internet connection, otherwise it doesn't work. Simply because if it did work without internet connection, drain your battery within a few minutes. So there's lots of possibilities, but we need to look into where are we as humans really good, and where the machines at this stage really good in learning new things. So what is artificial intelligence? It's basically, you can boil it down to two areas. One part is related to machine learning, and the other part is cognitive solutions, which is a bit like the problem I explained before, making machines think like humans in different scenarios. You can say a machine can learn things based on inputs. You can have a lot of examples where, for instance, you have robots learning to drive on different areas without being programmed, but just getting inputs on when they do something good. For instance, following white spaces on a road or whatever it is. So there's lots of really interesting areas. When it comes to recognizing data patterns, the area where we are right now is that you can have machines recognizing big data patterns very easily compared to humans, where this becomes very interesting in organizations. You can quite often look into that area with BI examples. The BI industry is going into that direction very much, and being able to, we can't say replacing controllers, but helping controllers actually finding solutions where they had to do everything manually before, finding patterns in data, and combining unstructured data, realizing that this data representation matches a certain known data representation within their BI solution. It could be some dimensions, for instance, inventory, whatever. So you can have machines very deeply looking into things and actually being able to help humans finding what they need to be able to make intelligent actions, so to say. When you're talking about cognitive solutions, we are in this stage, I would say things are evolving really, really quickly. I think most people know about the Google Brain project they executed in 2012, which is in this stage very far away, where they uploaded, I think it was about 16,000 images from YouTube, and having a machine actually learning these the inputs from these images, and the machine managed to learn to recognize cats. It's not really impressive, but at this stage we're way beyond that, and you can actually very easily learn new things, also in terms of picture recognition. So this actually makes things very interesting, especially when you combine this with, in this case, you talk about artificial intelligence and RPA, obviously, and it gives the possibility to learn things, and based on something you learned, then you can execute a number of known things. Could be RPA processes, could be basically anything, and this is where it becomes very, very interesting. So you can say, when you're looking hardcore on RPA and artificial intelligence, RPA is basically rule-based. You have a number of processes you automate, but it's 100% based on rules. Whereas artificial intelligence is making automation based on things you can it's making automation based on things that the machine is learning. Guided will show a good example on from Automation Anywhere, based on files, unstructured data and files. You can say PDFs, or you can have all kinds of different documents where you actually want to extract information and having machine learn where which data is relevant to look into. And then there is the more advanced area, which is what's called natural language processing. I think most of us know that, obviously from Siri, but also from other cases, where you basically enable the possibility of actually communicating in a language which is human towards a computer, and having a computer understanding what do we actually mean. And then based on that, it does a number of things. It could be a simple action, it could be executing an RPA process, it could be various things. And this makes it all of a sudden super interesting in terms of having the possibility to combine things and take part of this human decision making that we often end up having to do. Another good example of natural language processing is if you ever called big organizations like eBay or other big organizations, you tend to have a challenge where the organization is so big that a person can't really guess where in the organization you are actually, who you need to talk to, or just which department. And it all of a sudden makes it a lot easier having a robot based on artificial intelligence pinpointing you in the right direction, and then of course leaving the option that if you can't find that person, you can always talk to a human who will pinpoint you in where you need to go. Areas like fraud detection. I think fraud detection has been one of the areas where you started in many, at least in the banking, the insurance industry, realizing who is actually cheating. If you imagine you have a lot of people stating that something happened, some accident or something, and they need to make a claim from the insurance company, figuring out when it is actually back and when it's not. It's a huge amount of data that you have to process, and which is very data related. And this is one of the areas where computers are really, really strong. And when you end up in an area where artificial intelligence play towards the machine, it outperforms the humans very, very easily because the data is simply so big. Other good examples, I'll get back to one of them, is areas where like Google Ads, or every time you go on an e-commerce site, you have, nowadays it's not simple rules, but they decide to show which product you're actually might be interested in. There's very advanced algorithms showing what you might be interested in based on a huge amount of inputs and obviously also artificial intelligence. So the interesting thing here is when you can combine, for instance, natural programming language, artificial intelligence, RPA, then you end up having the tools of actually replacing some of the things which you think might not be possible within the organization. And the interesting thing here is obviously that at this stage, this is possible, even with the tools like Automation Anywhere. The last part, I was actually thinking about showing you a number of different areas where artificial intelligence has changed the way the industry works, or completely involved changed mechanisms. But instead of that, I decided to show you a small example of a Google ads. See, Google obviously uses artificial intelligence quite heavily, but in this case, it's a very small example of running some ads on Google where you go through a learning curve. Every time you execute something on Google Ads, it goes through a learning curve before they actually start to perform. In this case, it's very easy to see which part of the campaigns here in this case has gone through the learning curve, illustrated by the arrows. And you can say in terms of Google, it's a large amount of different inputs that you provide Google, and then it runs basically an auction, and then it tries to figure out when you can actually get the advertisement space. And in terms of demonstrating or talking about where do we use this, what can we use it for? Well, a lot of industries, just if you take some simple things like Google Ads, has changed the way the industry works, because everything related to consumer market is either started usually on Google or on Amazon. In both cases, you use artificial intelligence heavily to find a relevant result. Is there anyone who has any questions at this point of view, or should I push forward to Dider, showing you how this actually works in automation networks? Dider, I guess it's over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Michael. So, hello everybody. My name is Dider. I'm an automation engineer at Automation Enabler. What do we see over the past few years? We see that automation already has some factories, but what we see is that the back office automation still needs some catching up, and this is the space where automation is comes in, together with the RPA, analytics, and IQBot. How do we see it? Well, the automation challenge is that at the moment we are able to do 20 to 30% already automating in backend. Why? Because this is structured data. But where lies the challenge? The challenge lies in the semi-structured and unstructured data. And this is something that we try to get rid of with automation as well. IQBot lays in the layer of semi-structured data, which means that we will try to process invoices, purchase orders, any kind of document in this state. How does a traditional and legacy way of documenting questions work? So you have a human, a business user who takes the document, looks at them, says like, okay, this is purchase order in English, this is purchase order in French, this is an invoice, classify them, send them to a computer, to an OCR system, who tries to extract the data out. When I fail, it goes to business owners who review it, send it to the ideas to decode the OCR, so it's capable of doing the extracting of the documents. And this process goes on and on, still it's on an acceptable way. Once that has gone, it goes to the back office again to fully validate the last step for approval. It goes to an approval system, and once it goes to the approval system, it goes to a final approval and review by auditing. But how do we see it? And how can it be done? You have RPA to extract documents from, for example, an email, from a system, anywhere else from a folder, and send it to IQBot. IQBot will then index and classify the documents on a clever way with a lot of AI algorithms. So they will automatically see like this document is different from another document, and they will put it in groups so it's easy to teach the robot by the business users to be able to extract all the data out of the document. Once it will, after that, it will be extracting the document, and it will do some enhanced data processing. What do we mean with that? That means that we have the AI layers across all the OCRs that we use, and it will do some manipulations on the training that it has and it's done by the human in the validation screen. So if there is something that it was not able to extract, or if there wasn't ever an extraction, it will send it to a human validation screen. The human makes some manipulations, and it will send back to the extraction. So the next time that document will go through IQBot or a simple document, IQBot will then in the enhanced data processing stage manipulate the data with the learning that comes from the human and validation. After IQBot, RPA takes that and sends it back to the system that it needs. To give you an example, we have done some processes in, for example, the insurance claim, where insurance came over email. RPA took out the attachments of the email, sent it to IQBot, who classified them, took out the data, did some manipulation from the learning that is comes from the humans with AI, then send it back to RPA, who did some fraud detection. If it has some really, well, with some embedded AI layers in it, it could say like, okay, we are at a 90% of fraud, it send it to the escalation team, otherwise it send it to the DU team, and after that, it goes to the approval system and ready to pay to the customers. But let me show you how IQBot works. So when you go to IQBot, you get logged into the start, and once you're logged in, you come to this page. This page has some smart analytics done on every document that has gone through IQBot. You have a global view, like my totals that you have here, but you have also some totals for every learning instance that you are making. So this is, well, first of all, you have the total amount, then you have some more in detail view, like how many have been uploaded, how many have been processed without any human intervention, how many needed to have some human intervention, and how many of the documents you must thought like, okay, this is really not an easy document, maybe I should do it on my own. Which mostly of the time is quite low. Then thereafter we have some more visualized way of showing some of the analytics that we are capturing out of IQBot, as you can see here below. And since we didn't have any documents yet that did go to validation, this is empty. So let me show you how easy it is to make a learning instance. So if you go to learning instance and you create and click on new learning instance, you see this screen. Which types of learning instances can be already made predefined? Purchase orders, invoices, contracts, billing statements, claims, insurance claims. So we have already some predefined sets that you can use who are ready to use to make. In this case, I will use purchase orders. And if you select purchase order, you can see that we have 5 predefined ways. In total, we have 192 languages that we are supporting, depending on the OCRs and the laying OCRs of IQBot that you are using. We are using Abby, Testnet, and Microsoft Azure OCR. So with the Abby underlaying, OCRs, we are able to extract 192 languages. For the demo purpose, I will take English, and I will take this document. So what will we extract out of this document? We will extract the billing address. It's the billing address. We will take out the total, the purchase orders, the purchase date, the sender, the tax, and the subtotal. For the business, if some fields not be there and you would want to extract, for example, the vendor code in this case, you can just add one field and this will take an account for extraction. So all fields that you take here will improve the expression of the document. The document also have a table, and we are also able to easily extract all the data out of the document, as I will show you in a minute. So when you make a learning instance, you want to give it a proper name, so you can easily retrieve it once you will want to check something. That's what has done, or just to adjust some training that you did, because you think it could be a little bit better. So once you click on accordingly, so it's easy to train them. But let me show you how easy it is to train. So once IQBot gets the document, the AI will already try to find some labels that you have put and clicked in the previous screen. And once it has a green tick, this means that IQBot was able to already find some of the labels that you have defined. If it doesn't have a tick, this means that IQBot is not sure or doesn't know where to find it. So in this case, we want to have the date. So let me explain some date. And as you have seen, I haven't clicked on the date. So I clicked the label, and IQBot, the AI layer after IQBot, exactly know, like, oh, I have the date. Maybe that's the date that goes with it. And it already selected it. So if you look at the purchase order, it's selected. Because I have said that the purchase order label needs to be purchase ordered. It's selected as this, but actually the purchase order is this one together with this one. As you see, I didn't click, and it automatically knew that that would be the purchase order. He was able to already find the total without any issues. And let me train it now for the billing address. I'm not going to take UK in this instance. Why I will not take UK in this instance. I will do some logic. So we get a standardized Google API address tag. So for this case, I will take the 2 in account. Why does that matter? Because the 2 is labeled. So IQBot already knows if the label is also in the expression, it will already exclude the label out of the expression that we have taken. So that's the reason that I make it a little bit bigger, just for demo purpose. I'm doing it like this. So the vendor is learning some text profile, and when I click the purchase order on top, it found that this probably is the vendor that we would want. So let's see the text, VAT, and it already found that VAT is decided, the total is found. We will not train the vendor codes. Why will we not do that? It's because, for example, we have an SAP system, and the SAP system says that for vertical textile quotation, the vendor code is some number. So in this release of IQBot, we open it also up to developers. So developers are able to add some logic, Python logic in it, which will make it also easier to do some, to reduce the post-processing needed in IQBot. So here, for this demo, I've already made some predefined Python. So I will add it in here. And once I click on that, you will see that IQBot is making the connection to my database, and it says like Maeglerkonsulenterne textile quotation. That's what we bought, and afterwards we have the vendor code. So the vendor code will now be filled in with the code that we found in the database. But like I said, for the billing address, we have also made already little Python code to make it unified. So we have always the Google API way of making it sure that the address is always in the same format. So if this would, for example, fail, this would go to a validation screen so the human can interact with it and say like, oh, maybe this was incorrect read by IQBot. So I see that I have some technical issues with the internet. My excuses for this. potential, if you would train this document as I did now, if my internet would be a little bit better. My excuse for that one. I'm on the iPod, of course. And you would extract all this, you would get a document that looks like this. So in this document, you see that IQBot was able to extract the data out of it. And it sent it to the Google API, and the Google API sent it the address back. Also, we can add some patterns in IQBot. So it makes that the data, well, the data in this case, is always in a unified form. So this makes it also easy when we have, for example, when they see this in the day that you first need to have the day, the month, and then the year. With the pattern in IQBot, you can easily do this. So that's the part of extracting documents. And at last, we have some predefined sets as well, domains that we already provide you with, like purchase orders in 5 different languages, invoices in also some languages. If for some reason we wouldn't have a domain ready built yet, you can easily make your own domain, add it like you want, train the documents on that domain with simple clicks like you saw now, and IQBot will be able to extract it. So in IQBot you have an AI which will classify and group the documents on layout and label that you want. All the manipulations that the users need to do in validation suite, which is mostly not that often, will be taken in account of the learning of IQBot, and then at the end you also need to compose those things. So you have pre and post processing with RPA, and together with our analytics, this creates an end-to-end case for processing. So thank you for your attention. Are there any questions regarding this, please?
So at this moment, I don't see any questions. Yeah, so please feel free to answer any questions in the or to ask any questions in the question box. As I mentioned before, after this meeting, we will send you the presentations, so you have them as well. Walk through them if needed. And of course, if you would like to see more, or if you would like to be invited to a live event where you can build your own bot, and it doesn't matter which level in the organization you are, because anybody can accept that buildable event and build your own bot. I think the good thing about that is that you really can see what you see and feel what you can do while building that bot in the processes that you have within your company. So yeah, we will send the invite to everybody that's online. Please feel free to join. And if there's no further questions. No, I don't see any questions for you guys. So next time, please feel free to ask a question. But for now, I wish you a very nice day and thank you for joining.